Okay, so let's start the session for today. Till the last session, we had seen like what is loop and what are different types of loops that we have in uh, JavaScript, and we had also seen like how does the frame how does like for loop, while loop, and do while loop works, and what is the difference between these three. Also, when do we use for loop? When do we use while loop, and when do we use do while loop? So we had gone through with the explanation of for, while, and do while. We do have like two different for loop in JavaScript. One is like for off loop, another is like for in loop. So we'll see today what is like for off loop and for in loop. Okay. So I'll just recap for a couple of minutes. So what did we discuss last time is we discussed regarding what is for loop, how the syntax of the for loop appears, which is like for it takes like three values inside for loop for keyword, which is like initialization, condition, increment, or decrement. Where initialization is just to initialize the variable, that will be the starting point of the for loop. Condition is as soon as like it will validate in every iteration, it will validate whether the condition is matching or not. If the condition is matching, then it will again execute the for block of code, like all the block of code that goes inside the curly braces of for loop. If it is not, then the loop will be terminated. In case of, we had also seen like what is while loop, how the syntax of the while loop appears. So in the while loop, we also have to take all the three things that we take in the for loop, which is initialization, condition, and increment by decrement. But while takes only the condition part, whereas the other two parts, which is like initialization and increment by decrement, we have to do by self. So we have to declare first like any type of variable, and we have to initialize the value. Then we have to do like we have to write a while loop, which will take a condition. And if the condition is matching, which is like if the condition is throwing us a value true, then it will go inside a while loop, print the value. And we also have to increment by decrement after printing it, after printing any kind of values. Right. And then we had seen like what is do while loop and how the syntax appears. So in as we had gone through with like in the do while loop, basically at least one time the code will be executed. Whatever the code we write inside the curly braces of do while loop will be executed at least one time, and then the condition will be checked inside the while loop. And if the condition is true, then again it will go and print some of the value, whatever the value we have inside the curly braces of the do while loop, and it keeps on like checking whether the condition is true or false. As soon as the condition becomes false, it will go and terminate the loop from there. So this is what we had seen till the last session. Now we have two other things, which is like I hope like you people might have gone through with like might have completed print value from 10 to 1 by using any kind of loop, either for while or do while. If not, then we'll discuss at the end of the session like how can we do that. Okay, so today we'll see the two other, which is like again unique in JavaScript. is called as for. We write in this way, for in loop. For in loop. So what is for in loop? So it says that we have to iterate for a value. Like for in loop is used to iterate over the properties of an object. So whenever we create any object in the JavaScript, we can use for in loop to print all the values of the object in a very simple manner, very simple fashion. We can iterate through the objects. So what basically we have in JavaScript object is it will have a key and value pair kind of. I'll just show you how do we basically declare the object, but we'll discuss it in detail whenever we go through the object session in JavaScript. So first we'll see like the syntax of the for in loop. So syntax used to be something like this, which is it says like for. So this is the syntax for in loop syntax. So syntax used to be you have to write in a same fashion. Like how did we declare for the for loop? You have to start with a keyword called for, and in the for loop it takes like 3 parameters, which is like initialization, condition, increment or decrement. Whereas in for in loop it says that we have to give some kind of we have to basically give some kind of value over here, which will be a variable kind of, which will store your store the data of the object that we'll be using. What is object? I'll explain you. And how do we create object? That also I'll explain you, but in detail in the other session. So for it will start with for, and we'll have to initialize some of the like variable name, any variable name that you can take, not only the variable. You can also see like you can take e, or you can take anything. I'm just trying to say here variable name. The syntax is like variable name, and then there will be one operator called in. So it says that it is like very simple in terms of plain English language. So it says that variable in object. That means we have to take an element in object. It says that element in object. That means we have an object and we have to print the element of an object or variable value of an object. So if you see this one, this for in loop syntax, it says that you have to start with for, and then whatever the element we have in object, that we have to print, or we have to do some kind of actions on that. So this is what the syntax is for variable in object. And this is what the syntax of for loop. And then again, similar things like curly braces will appear. We have to write the code, but there is no initialize like increment or decrement part in for in variable. Sorry, for in loop. So there is nothing called increment or decrement in for in loop. We have to start with writing for keyword, then write some variable names. We do not have to give any keyword var, let, const over here. We can just name the variable name. We have to use in operator, and then whatever the object that we are trying to iterate through will be iterated. We have to give that particular object. So let's see the example that we'll be going through. So the example for in loop will be, let's say we are trying to create an object. So how do we create an object is, let's say, const person. So we have just given a variable name called as person. Okay, or just give the variable name as employee. So how do we declare object in JavaScript? It will start with curly braces. Okay. it will start with curly braces. And as I said, the variable name, as I said, like the object name or object in JavaScript, not the object name, but object in JavaScript will be a key value pair. Key means it can be any value, either string or numerical, and value can also be either a string or variable, no, like numerical. So we'll discuss this in the other session in the detail. But for now, how do we declare an object in JavaScript is, it is not similar to the object that we create by using like, new operator in Java, which is like new and then last name. So it is not similar to that in whatever we are currently discussing is not similar to the object that we create using like new operator in Java. Okay, so how do we create an object in Java is, let's say, class name, then you give some kind of variable equals to new class name. This is how we create object in Java. That object is entirely different. Currently, we are discussing it. It is basically said that it's an object in Java, but how do we create an object in Java? It, it is basically, said that it basically represented as an object in JavaScript. And how do we create an object in JavaScript is write to initialize a variable name, which you can use either let or const, and then you give the variable name, and then this object will take key value pair. So let's say we have taken an employee. So employee, what we can do for the employees, like let's say name and call, and then so when I select key value pair, this is like key, and then whatever you give value, let's say Tom. So it is one property of an object where it says that there is an employee who is having a name called Tom. Okay, and then whatever the other property will be for the employee, that you can declare by just separating it using com. So you can say like age equals to 30. As I said, it can be either uh, is colon, to take colon inside an object. So as I said, it can be either string value, numerical value, and so on. And then we can also declare some of the property, let's say city, colon, maybe UK, example. So this is one of an object. So this one, the line number 85 that we have created over here, is basically a declaration of an object, which is again a proper, whatever we are trying to store here. It can be any value, but this will be in a key and value pair. So this is key, this is value, this is key, and this is value. So this is how we create an object in JavaScript. Do not worry for this. I'll again, describe this everything in detail. So first, so here you have to declare a variable. You have to declare, just declare, not, we do not require any initialization value. You can just declare a variable. The syntax for in loop is you have to start with for, declare a variable, use an in operator, and then you have to use the object name that you are trying to iterate. So what we have to do is we have to just go through with for, then declare a variable. So for declaring a variable, we can use like first keyword, any type of keyword that you can use. But as we know that every time this will be keep on changing the key value, the variable that we are trying to declare here, the value of the variable will keep on changing, because first time it will take name, this value will be printed. Second time it will take age, and this value will be printed, and so on. So which type of variable that we can declare over here is Const we cannot declare because const says that once it is declared and initialized, you cannot change. So we'll go for declaring a variable called let. So let's say like let, and then key of, as you said, like this will be a key value. I'm just giving a variable name key, or let's say variable name is variable, or you can say like simple example like let key. Okay, and what did we say in terms of syntaxes? We have to first declare a variable. So we have declared a variable let e. Okay, how do we declare a variable? Either you can declare let let's say let key. Either you can keep like this, or you can also initialize some values. Okay, this is how we declared a variable in JavaScript, right? So we are trying to just declare a variable over here, and this variable will take the value from the object. Okay, so how do we do is like let e in what is our object name is employee. So this is how basically we write a for loop whenever we have to iterate through an object in Javascript. And what is that object? So how do we declare an object? We have to first give a keyword. Let's say you can utilize a const, because like you can also utilize let, but it's always better because this value will not get changed. Currently, if you see like there can be any addition and deletion of the value, you can always start with let. So I've just given a constant value over here, which will not change. So we have declared a variable, which is like const employee, and then declared some of the properties of the employee, which is in a key value pair, and this is also known as an object in JavaScript. Okay, and then we are iterating through the object that we have created right now. So then the syntax for this is for declare a variable in operator, and then object name, which we are trying to iterate through. Are you understanding this?
Yes, Praveen.
Yes, Praveen.
Okay. So wherever you like do not understand, just let me know. I'll go through it again. Okay. So what we have to print here is we have got, this will basically take the key value. Whatever the key that we have, this will take the key value, which is like name, age, and city. Okay. So this will take key value, whatever the e that we have declared as a variable. It will take a key value from the object. Key is here name, age, and city. So if you just print it out over here, let's say console.log of e, then you will see like it will print only key value, all the key of the object. So what are all those key is name, age, and name, age, and city. So this is node, and then .js. We have to go inside basics. It will be cd basics, and then which one is this? Loops.js. I have to give loops.js. So you can say like it has just printed name, age, and value. So this is just key. Wherever we, whenever we use in operator and you just declare a variable, that variable will basically takes all the key value from all the keys from object, not the value, but only the keys from object. Now we know that whenever we have to print any value using the key, right? So how do we do that is you have to give the employee name. Like, let's say if we have to print the value of the only the value of the object, then you have to basically use like object and then start a square bracket and give the name. So if you should write in this way, it will basically give you the value. So what we are trying to say here is we are trying to say we have an object which is like employee, and we are trying to get the value of name key. So this is how we represent in terms of whenever we have to get the value. So it is similar if we have like Java and we have an array. So how do we uh, try to get the index of an array? By using array and then start with square bracket and provide, like if you are trying to use, let's say, first index value. So array of 0, second index value, array of 1, and so on. So why are we trying to do here is because we have to give the index for array. If you have not worked on Java, do not worry, like how is this? So it basically says that object is a combination of key and values. And if you have to get the key of the object, then you can directly write all these things, which is like for let variable name in implies. So all the keys will be taken inside this variable. Now our goal is to get the value. So to get the value of the object employee, which we have declared as an employee, so you have to basically declare in employee object name basically, and then start a square bracket and give the key over here. So whatever the key you give, it will directly give you those values. So here it is like Tom. If you declare age, then it will give you 30. If you declare city, it will give you UK. So in the same way, let's say we are trying to get the value, which is like key and value both. So we have seen here, whatever the variable that you declared, it will take a key value. We have printed and it has printed as name, age, and city. Now let's say we have to take both of the things. Okay. So let's see in a simple way, which is like, how do you do the both of the things? Is like employee, as I said, employee, and like you have to declare the object name and then start a square bracket and then give the variable that you have declared. So what is this variable? Why did we give here is this variable that you have declared inside for in loop. This will take all the key values, all the keys of the object. So it will first time it will have name, in the second iteration it will have age, and then third iteration it will have city. So how it will generally work is here it will print the name for the first time. That means the first key is name, and this will be again like employee, name of an employee. This will print as value as Tom. Then again, it will there will nothing be a condition. As much as the value will be there, it will keep on iterating. If there is no value left out after like city, the loop will automatically terminate it. So there will not be a condition to check over here. It will just iterate through an object. And as like, let's say if there are 100 values or 100 keys and values, then it will iterate for 100 times. If there are only one, then it will iterate for one. So in our case, it will check like city. Okay, then again go and iterate. There will not be any value. So the loop will be automatically terminated. Okay, we don't have to terminate over here by writing any conditions or initializations. Okay. So this value will, this variable basically will take the keys from the object, and to get the value of all the keys, we have to declare like object and then of all the keys. So this key value that we have given here, because this we know that this variable is having keys of the object. Now, if you try to print this, we'll say like we have name, name, which is Tom, is 30, city, UK. Okay, so first it has printed all the keys and then we have printed all the values. We can also concatenate in the same line, just like let's say, how do you concatenate with is you can declare plus and then again plus, and then you can declare like object name and then inside this the keys. So we do not require this, right? So it will say like it will say name colon, because we have separated with colon. You can also give like equal to. So anything you can give as a separator. So you can say like it has printed like name equal to Tom, is equal to 30, and city equals to UK. So this is what the for in loop is, and this will be basically whenever we have any object in JavaScript, wherever we have any object in JavaScript, for in loop can be automatically utilized over there by writing this. Like you can directly go and utilize for in loop. Okay. Any doubt in this?
No,
Praveen, here
Praveen.
we have declared one of the E kind of thing, no? Let E equal to.
Right.
Yeah, in that place we can declare anything, right?
E can be anything. You can declare any value. Let's say you can declare variable. Let's say you can declare a. Okay,
Okay.
and then just change it out with a and here. So this, whatever the value, it can be anything. Whatever the name you can declare anything over there. And let's say I've just changed it to a, and you can say it is still giving us the same value. So you can change
Oh,
it. You can change there any value or anything that you want to give the name of the variable. You can give it. There is no restriction in that. The only thing is like this, whatever the variable that we're declaring here, as it is iterating through the object, so it will take first the keys of the object, and then if you have to print the value of the employee object, then you have to use like object name, start a square bracket, and give the keys. Okay,
okay, Praveen.
so it is similar to how do we say like how do we declare an array here in JavaScript is let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Six. And if you have to, and if you have to declare array. So how do we get basically like the first value of an array, which is like ARR of 0, you can say directly. So it will give us, this is how we get the first value. That means we are saying array, like whatever the name of the array that we have given, and then the first index value. So what is the first index? The index in array starts with 0 and starts from 0. So this is where we started a square bracket, and inside that we have given some kind of uh, identification. That means first we have to get like the first value of an array. So that is where we have given index. In the same way, we are trying to print over here as well, like employee object and object name, and then start with square bracket, and then give some kind of key value. And it will print us the value of the key that we are trying to print. Okay. So this was for in loop. Next is known as for off loop. For off. So the only difference between for in and for off, both can be utilized for either object or array, but it is always like in an easy manner and in a better way. Like for off loop is used to iterate basically. So for off, see everything in in JavaScript will be called as an object, either array, string, or any value. Okay. So for off loop will be basically used to iterate over again, like whatever the iterator will be there. So it can be one of our object, it can be an array, it can be a string value, because string will have a combination of characters. So you can iterate through that as well. Array, you can iterate through. So whatever the iteratable value will be there, or iteratable objects will be there, where you can uh, run the same code multiple times to get the value of a particular object. Then at that point of time, we can use for of loop. Both are almost similar. Either you can use for in loop, or you can use for off loop. So if you use in, as I said, it will take a key. If you use off, it will directly take the value. So so we'll see the syntax, how the syntax used to be. So for off loop syntax used to be something like this. There is not only difference is like in and off operator. So if you see here in the in operator, we had like variable in operator and then object. And here variable off operator and then object. So in most of the time, for in loop, we use for variable, we use for object. Whereas for off loop says that you can either use for array, or you can use for string, you can use for map, which is again a key value pair, which is also known as object in JavaScript. So either you can use for object, or you can use for array, string, anything where you see like it can be iterated. Iterated means the same to get the values of the object or value of any variable. If we have to iterate through, then you can use for off loop. So what is meant by iterate through is like, let's say we have an array over here. This is how we declare array in JavaScript. So we have an array over here. And to get all the value of array, you basically have to iterate through. You cannot get all the value at one point of time. I mean, by just writing plus array plus array of one, like this, you can write it out. There is no harm in that. But again, you have to write 6, 7 times array. And we do not know how many value it can have, array can have, right? So to iterate the value, to get all the value of an array, we basically have to iterate through the array. So wherever we have this kind of conditions, also let's say if we have string variable, which is like, let's say testing, and if you have to get each character of the string, then again you have to iterate through the string, and there you can use for off loop. If you have to get the value from the iteratable, which is like array over here, there you can directly use off. Here also you can use for in loop. But as I said, the variable that you declare inside for in loop will take the keys of the object, whatever the object you have. In general, in JavaScript, we basically uh, say like either array or string, or we create a specific object. Everything will be considered as an object. Okay. Any confusion here in for of loop?
No problem.
No problem.
Okay. Okay. So let's say let's say we declare an array over here, which is like const arr equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We know that here we only have like 6 value. We'll discuss like array probably in the next tomorrow's session. But in JavaScript, we do not have something called as static array and dynamic array. The array will always be dynamic in JavaScript. So it will automatically, like what happened in Java is like we'll have static array, which at the time of declaration, we have to give some kind of value. Let's say int array equals to new int, and we have to give some kind of value that 6, let's say example 6. That means you can only be able to declare 6 variables, 6 values for this integer array. This like integer array we have declared over here. This syntax is for the Java, not for the JavaScript. So it says that you cannot uh, add or store more than 6 values in this particular array. Whereas in JavaScript, we declare the array like this. So whenever you declare an array, you can also do the addition of the value. Let's say we know that like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the last index. So you can say like array of 6 equals to 10. And if you say like this value will be, the value will be added inside this array. Okay, this will see like in the array session, like how do we do those things. But for now, we have declared an array, which is an iteratable, because to get the value, we have to do the same action multiple times. Okay, so to print all the values from the array, let's use the for off loop. We'll use both here and show you the difference, what happened when we use for in loop and for off loop. Okay, so let's start with like for off loop. So we say like for declare a variable the similar way or however we have declared inside the for in loop. So let's say array element. You can give any values, any name of the variable. And then you use the operator called as off. And then where are we iterating? For what variable we are iterating? We are iterating for an array. So you have to give here just array, ARR, the name of the basically object or variable that you have declared. It is also known as variable. And whenever you see the symbol of square bracket, you can also say it as an array. Okay. So this is an array that we have declared, and we are iterating through an array using for off loop. We had earlier seen that we had iterated through for normal for loop as well. Okay. So for normal for loop, for in loop, and for off loop, you can use all those three for iterating through array. So in the normal, you have to give like usual for loop, you have to give initialization, then use like length of the array. So it will calculate, okay, how many values we have, and then increment. In for in loop, we had seen just for the variable that you have in the variable that you declared, it will take the keys of the object that you declared. And then to print the value, you have to use like object name, start with a square bracket, and then give the key so that it will print the value. And in for off loop, it will directly print. If you print just over here, like console.log array element, it will directly print the value itself. So see here, whenever we declare an array, this is also in the key value pair, whereas we do not have to declare the keys over here. So what is the key here? Key is index. For 0th index, we have first value. For first index, we have 2 values. For second index value, we have, for second index, we have 3 as a value, and so on. Okay, so it internally works in a key value pair itself, where the key will be the index and the value will be the value that we declared over here. But we generally do not see the key, do not see or do not write any keys explicitly for array. Whereas internally, it will be again a key value pair itself. As index is matched with the first value, 0th index, first index will match with the second value, and so on. It will be matched in that way. So it will, if you print in this way, so whenever you use of operator, it will directly give you the value. It will not print the key. It will directly give you the value. So that is why, as we do not see the keys over here, we say that whenever you go to iterate array, you can utilize like for of loop. For of loop. So for of loop is declare a variable of operator and whatever the iterator you are trying to give here. So it will give you like console.array. By printing this variable name, it will give you the all the value, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what happened here is in the first iterator, it will go inside array and print the first value. Again, in the second time, it will directly jump to the second. It will not go to the first. And also, we do not have to give any increment and decrement here as well. So it will automatically keep on increasing the value. Okay. Now let's say print it out the value over here. If you print this, you can say like we have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So you can say that it has printed all the values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Any doubt in this for of loop?
No, Praveen.
No problem. Praveen, this is something in Java like for each loop.
For each loop, right? This is similar
Yeah.
to for each loop in Java.
Yeah.
In for each loop as well, we said like int e colon. We give like colon in
Yes.
Java,
Yes. Yeah.
whereas we have to use of loop, of operator in JavaScript.
Yeah.
Okay, so it says that this variable of array. So you can see in this, say in this way, for start a for keyword, and then some element or whatever the variable name that you declare, variable of an array. Here you can say like variable in employee. So wherever you see like in, it will use a key to print the value utilizing the object. Wherever you see of, it will directly print the value. Okay, let's see the similar value. How do we declare in that? And how do we declare by using for in operator? As I said, for in operator will also work for iteratable, which is like object value kind of, where you can iterate through. So let's say, how do we declare for in loop? So see, as we discussed, like in, whenever you use in operator, it will take the in like key value, keys of the iteratable. Either it can be object, or it can be array, or it can be string. Wherever you can iterate through will be iteratable. So in, whenever you use in operator, that will basically check the that will basically collect all the keys, not the values. Whereas if you use of operator, it will directly take the values that we see inside iteratable. So if you print this one, you will see that this will just let me change the value over here, like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Then you will see basically the difference, or else this will give you a confusion saying that, okay, it might be printing the same value. But we can see here as, you see here, like wherever we use for of operator, it has for of loop, it has automatically printed the value, all the values. When we have used in operator, it has printed the keys of the array, which is like index of the array, all the index. We've discussed here, right? The internally array will have a key value where the key will be index and the value that you see at that particular place. Okay, so here by using in operator, it has printed us only the index value. not the values of an array, just an index. Okay. Now, if you use, how do we use, we have an array. So how do we print the value? You can just use array of means starting with square bracket. Now, if you print in this way, it will give you the value, whatever the value we have here. So you can see that this value is coming from of operator and this value is coming from in operator. So whenever you use, just keep in mind that whenever you use in operator, you have to use the iteratable object value, iteratable object name, and then of the, the key variable that you have declared over here. Of in the sense, whenever we start with square bracket, we generally say that of. Okay. This is how we use in operator. And we know that in will take the keys of the iteratable that we have just seen that it has printed as 0, 1, 2, 3 in the previous part. And now when we used array of this particular variable, then it has printed as the value. Now you might be wondering like, why not we use of for this employee object? So let's try to use of and let's see what happens over here. So as I said, like of will directly print the value, not the key. So let's see what is happening over here. So I'm just trying to print the variable name that we have declared. Let's see what happened in case of operator. So you see here, whenever we use employees, right? This is an object. This says that your value is not basically iteratable because we have different keys over here and value is entirely different for all those things. We have the object in a key value pair. This is not an iteratable. You have to iterate through the name of the key because we have specifically mentioned the name. You're understanding, right? Wherever you give the key like explicitly, that will iteratable only using keys of the particular object or the iteratable. Okay, so this says that employee object is not an iteratable. Why it is not an iteratable is here we have mentioned the keys specifically. That means explicitly we have given the different keys, which is like name, age, city, and all three are entirely different. If you see in this way, in this one, the index is same. This says that like it has a key value, key as index, which is same like 0, 1, 2, and it will keep on iterating, keep on increasing the value. Whereas here it says that we have used a key specifically. So you have to use, you have to use the key to fetch the value of an object. And that is why we use for in operator for object, but not for of operator. Did you understand the difference?
Yes, Praveen.
Yes, Praveen.
Uh, like this is clear, right? Or I can explain you one more time. Not an issue. If it is clear, then we'll move to the next.
No, Praveen, I'm clear with this.
Okay, great. So wherever you see like object, you have specifically mentioned like key. There you have to use in operator for the for in loop. And if you see like you can directly print the value. If you see like you only have the value and their iteratable will be automatically taken. There you can use for of operator. You can also use for in operator. Whereas if you see, you have specifically mentioned, explicitly mentioned the key, then you have to go through with for in loop. Okay, so this is what the difference between for in and for of loop. Okay, so So we have completed few things over here, which is like we have completed like statement, loops, and conditions. There are very minor things in terms of operator. I'll just try to finish it off, and then we'll move to the next. So we have different types of operators. Operators will basically have similar kind of in every programming language. So if you see like assignment operator or let's say arithmetic operator or some kind of operator that we have in terms of getting some kind of value, doing some kind of actions. So let's say we have arithmetic operator, right? Arithmetic operator. So what we have in arithmetic operator is uh, this. Right. So what the value will be for this is like plus, minus, or subtraction. This is called as addition, subtraction, then multiplication. Then we have division, which is like this. Then we have modulus. These are the few operators that we have, which is like similar to the other programming language. And then we have logical operator, which is and we declare in double ampersand, or we declare in the pipe symbol kind of two pipe symbol, and then not, which is like negation part of the operator. So this is very simple. We'll discuss this in the next session. I think like loops we have gone through in this, which is like for in and for off loop. So you can try to practice it out. This is very simple. This will not take like more than 10 minutes to explain. So this will go in the next session. And then in the next session itself, for the first 10 minutes, we'll cover like operators that we have here, logical operators and assignment operator. Most of the time we use these two things. And then we'll jump into the arrays. There are different like methods we have available in arrays. We'll discuss few of them. I'll also give you the complete methods of the array. You can practice it out as well. So for today's, maybe you can try to practice for in loop and for off loop, so that you will understand it in a better way, where you have to use for in, where you have to use for off loop. In general, if I recap this, so for in loop, wherever you see like you have a key value pair, and that key value you have given explicitly at that point of time, you can go for in, and the variable that you declare will take a keys, and to get the value, you have to use the variable name or object name, and then start a square bracket and use the keys. For off loop is it will directly print the value. If you see like you do not have declared any keys, there are keys, and that is like iteratable kind of, you can directly utilize the for off loop. Okay, so that's it for today's session.